Alright, so we'll get started with this texture. I would suggest you shut down everything on your computer that you don't need. We're looking for, on the desktop, we have oil barrel, render data, mental ray, light map, and then oil barrel OCC. Okay. Here I have this. I'm going to make a new document. It's going to be 128 pixels by 128 pixels and hit OK. I want you to choose a brush at the very top. Go to the pencil tool and do that again. There we go. The pencil tool is to make pixels, okay? And I'm going to have a 1 pixel here. Okay, I'm just going to make a few pixels. In an area. Keeping them pretty spread out and kind of just square, okay? Just like that. Now, we're going to define this as a brush. Edit, define brush preset. I'm going to call this pixels. Okay, and then I'm going to go hop back over to the barrel and choose a brush with that new brush that I made. This is a really small brush, so if you use the keyboard shortcut for making the brush bigger and smaller, which is the bracket keys, you can start seeing it. Okay, so you have a large variation of pixels that you can make. I always start with a tint because it's too hard to go from absolutely nothing. Okay, so I'm going to choose a brown, and I'm going to choose an area of brown like this. Okay, because that way I can go really high, really low. So it's a mid-tone. Now I'm going to switch these around because it's just a little easier to think about this way. So I'm going to turn this one on multiply. Okay. And then any new layer, like I'll make about 3 or 4 layers here just so I can have them. I'll start with this layer right here, and I'm going to make some pixels. There is a color palette under the color. It's called HSB. I'll be using this for the video. And you can see I can adjust the range and hue of things. So the black level in the hue and the saturation of which. So I'll keep the saturation level right about here. That way any color that I choose a little bit more saturated than what I have now. Now, rule of thumb is I don't go over a certain amount of dots. Like I'll stay within 200 maybe of dots. And I'll break that rule all the time. I'll show you why. Because it takes too long. And you can see I'm just painting dots in these areas. Okay, let's change it up a little bit. Paint some higher values of dots. I'm going to throw some teal in here. Teal always looks good with brown. If you look like it at an old oil or a burn barrel, you'll find like that it oxidizes. I'm gonna go back. You can't screw this up, so don't even try. You know, it's like one of those things that, you know, I see students do this, and it takes them forever to do it. You really can't screw it up, guys. So. You can paint any texture like this. Let's say, you know, you take a texture, you take a picture of it, and you want to try to make that texture. Not with the actual texture or photograph, but with the idea that you could paint that texture. Well, all you do is kind of zoom in on it and kind of memorize the colors, and you can easily paint that. Just people make the mistake. Oh, I made a new layer here, by the way. Just people make the mistake of getting either too wrapped up in the situation, or I don't know, putting way too much thought into the process. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just, I know there's these areas right here. So putting a little bit more dots in those areas. Then I'm going to zoom in, and you're going to see, wow, it's just a bunch of stupid dots. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is blur these dots just a little bit. Don't want to blur them too much. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. All right there. I'm going to do that with this layer too. And then on the next layer, I'm going to put only these color dots in here. And I'm going to be zoomed in a little bit more. And you can start seeing that it's starting to take shape as far as the resolution goes. This does take forever. If you have a faster computer, I'll show you a very cool trick. You can go into brush, and you can take and turn on shape dynamics and turn on angle jitter. This will make more dots and angle them up a little bit. I warn you, if you don't have a fast computer though, you should be very careful with this. You can see now, wow, it's taking like 10 times less. I love having this thing on multiply up at the top because really you can't go into the black area. So I always keep that one on top. If I think about it. Sometimes I'm just in the heat of the battle and I say, well, you know, I don't even need your stinking multiply. I'll just go in here and paint. Oh, and this is incredibly boring to watch, so I realize that usually I don't hand paint every texture. It's just I want to teach you how to do it, because in a pinch and in the fact that you can make some really cool stuff that's hand painted that is very stylized that other people do not have. So all I'm going to do is for the next few minutes is just vary up this texture. So I'll meet you in the next video where I have this just kind of painted out with these little small dots.